Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, everyone. This is Tammy Patzer, and I have a very special guest with me today. I have the author of a brand new book, Journey of a Starseed, Yvonne J. Douglas. And she is an award-winning coach who combines her unique blend of expert therapies to help facilitate healing and helping people to gain freedom from their fears, traumas, and issues. And I want to keep my introduction short about Yvonne because we have a lot to cover today. And I'm really excited because Journey of a Starseed is brand new, literally hot off the presses in the land of digital books. So you can get that on Amazon. So welcome. How are you today?
Hello. Thank you very much, Tammy. I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
Good. I wanted to ask you exactly a couple things. Who do you help? And how did you end up in this line of work in the first place?
Okay, so I mainly help sensitive souls. I help them to tap into their innate power and to realize that their sensitivity isn't a weakness, but it's actually a strength and a power. It's their superpower. And I got into this line of work, strangely enough, after having a breakdown. Because I struggled very much with mental health problems, depression, anxiety, addiction. And after a breakdown, I ended up in rehab and came out and just changed my career, just changed my life completely. So, and that's how I got into this work. I went to uni and studied and college, studied to be a coach, studied to be a counselor. And along the way, I've just also evolved the spiritual side of who I am and the spiritual practice that I do as well. So that's it in a nutshell, really.
Well, what a nutshell. It's so interesting to me because before we started this call, I told you when I read your bio, I said, I think my son is a starseed child because what I recognize from your description is a sensitive soul, the very sensitive, and it's like they feel everything and other people, and it can be very hard because how do you know if it's yours or somebody else's? And so this is actually really interesting to me. So tell me more about how do you work with sensitive souls?
So how do I work with them? I just create a really safe space for them to open up and allow them to express themselves, to express their emotions, to validate their emotions and how they're feeling. Because more often than not, sensitive souls are not necessarily understood by many. They're not understood by their parents, especially sensitive souls who are of my age and older and maybe not so old, but they're not necessarily understood by their parents. And so they're not given that care, that extra care in terms of how they're looked after and how they're nurtured around their emotions. Most of my clients, when I ask them, how were your emotions managed when you were growing up? They just say they weren't. They just weren't managed. So a lot of them, they were suppressed, they suffered in silence, and they just were left to get on with it. And this has caused them to be very inauthentic in how they approach life, in how they deal with others and how they deal with themselves. So I give them this safe space to really express themselves and talk about all the things, the traumas that affected them growing up, because a sensitive soul may go through the same experiences as a non-sensitive soul, and it will affect the sensitive soul very deeply because they are sensitive. And there's nothing wrong with that. And another thing I find is that a lot of sensitive souls, they complain that their sensitivity was knocked, and they were teased about it, even by adults, and it just wasn't welcomed. So it's really about helping that soul to embrace themselves authentically. And also on another level, I do a lot of spiritual healing as well, in terms of getting rid of trauma that still resides and gets trapped in the body.
So you mentioned healing. So some of us, obviously, some people, like you said, are more sensitive than other people. And I really get the part when you say that a lot of times parents don't understand their child and they don't know how to deal with it. So things get ignored because that they don't remember. I remember growing up, and I'd say to my mom and dad, nobody loves me, nobody cares. And I remember they did not know what to do. And I grew up in a time when there wasn't a lot of outside help or taking your kid to a therapist. I don't even think people did that back then. But, and I can't explain it at all. You know, I don't know why I felt the way I felt, but I imagine that a lot of people, like what you said, they have different fears, they have different trauma, and you help them heal. So tell me more about what is healing in the first place?
So healing is, so all these traumas, these wounds that we have, and these wounds could be anything around emotional neglect, abuse, or removing the wound, removing the emotional charge that one still carries around that wound. And when you've still got the emotional charge around that wound, it affects you in your current life. So things like depression, anxiety, addiction, relationship problems, not feeling motivated, not finding your soul's purpose. All these things are as a result of deep wounds that one carries in their psyche and in their body. So healing is really important for not just sensitive souls, actually, for everyone, especially at the time that we're living in now. There's so many things that are being released. Mother Earth is releasing a lot of I would say the shadows of humanity, the dark stuff that needs healing, so that we can all kind of vibrate higher and be more loving and be more open and accepting of one another.
So I'm thinking about that and the healing process, and you said that sometimes there's a charge around certain issues. So how do you know that you've healed from something?
Okay, so I'll use myself as an example. So I suffered or went through sexual abuse, and I attracted the wrong type of men. They were either emotionally abusive or psychologically abusive. And when I went through the healing process, the quality got better. But also, the more I spoke about this, the easier it became to speak about it. When I was able to speak about it without feeling upset or angry about the situation or the abuse, I realized that's when I was healed. So when you're able to really just talk about it and it doesn't affect you, and when you're in a relationship and you're not triggered, you don't have flashbacks, you don't have memories, all of that sort of thing, you will know that you've been healed from that particular incident.
That's really interesting to me, because I'm just thinking about different things. You said the word trigger, and times, if you think about it, there are things that somebody will say, and this could have been 20, 30, 40 years ago, and all of a sudden you're like off on something that has absolutely nothing to do with 40 years past the time. So I can recognize that would be like a trigger. You said something interesting. You said shadow work, and that Mother Earth was like bringing up some shadow things. So in the work you do, what is it with the shadow and the spiritual part of things?
Okay, so the shadow work is really the human stuff that we all carry, the traumas that we carry, the pain that we carry, the anger that we carry, the dysfunctional habits, behaviors, patterns that we carry. That's all part of the shadow work. And by doing the shadow work, it allows us to grow and expand. And it also allows us to embrace our soul. And so at the moment, we've got so many things happening globally. We've got the racism issue. We've got the child exploitation. We've got the paedophilia rings and much more. But these are sort of the three major things that are really being thrown up for all to see right now, because the planet is going through a global cleansing period. And we, as inhabitants of the planet, we are also having to go through a cleansing period. And I know that so many people at the moment have been talking about issues that are just coming up, and they're having to face it. It's like looking in the mirror and things are just like showing themselves, and people are not even understanding what's going on. I can't tell you how busy I've become since we've gone into this since March, this pandemic situation, because people's shadow is presenting itself. And the thing is, our shadow will always follow us. It will always follow us until we deal with it.
Yes, I can see that, because exactly what you're saying. So tell me more about Journey of a Starseed and what inspired you to write this book that's just coming out.
Okay. So this is my fourth book, and it kind of follows on from my very first book, which was my journey of self-discovery. And this follows on in terms of, I focus a lot more on my journey from Christianity to spirituality. And so I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and it was very kind of strict, and there was lots of dogma, and but then when I left, I went on another journey, and it was more of a spiritual journey. And on that journey, I just found so many answers to why I was so depressed and why I was the way I was, and all that kind of stuff. It just opened up my world so much. And the more I healed my wounds, the more my soul started to just expand. And as my soul expanded, I had this massive spiritual awakening in 2012. And some of the stuff actually scared me. And I'd have these visions, I'd have these premonitions, and I just started writing them down and recording this journey. I had this insatiable appetite for all things spiritual. I just wanted to read books. And I got lots of angel cards and oracle cards and started using them. And then I started training in spirituality. So I did some Sikhem energy healing, which is very similar to Reiki, and then eventually became a shamanic practitioner. So I just felt the need to write this book to help people who may be going through a spiritual awakening of sorts, who may be experiencing spiritual phenomena but don't know what it is or are very scared, who are also maybe in a religion and they're questioning it for themselves and they're not sure, and they may be feeling a bit guilty about leaving it behind and maybe embracing spirituality, or they may decide, actually, I can embrace the two, because I feel that it's a very personal thing, and whatever resonates with your soul is what's right for you. So I wrote this book because I just felt this journey was just phenomenal, really, and I just wanted to help them to maybe understand what they may be going through, and so they can have more clarity.
I really like where you're going with this, because I think you're right. It is a personal journey for each person. And sometimes you don't have to leave every single thing behind in order to embrace your spiritual self.
Absolutely.
And it is a very personal thing. So I really like that. So how do you view your long-term legacy? What is that for you?
My legacy is creating a movement for sensitive souls, so that we can really tap into our innate power and just shine our lights in this world, because things are really rapidly changing. And I just want to create this movement where people can feel accepted, people can use their spiritual gifts, and there's no fear around it, and there's no, people are not calling them devil worshippers and things like that, So I'm and a platform for healing. I feel that my legacy is about healing a nation, just because the more we heal, the more we make space for love in our lives and in our heart. So that's my legacy. That's what I'd like to leave behind.
Wow, that's really phenomenal. And I can really see you're absolutely right. When people are healed, or the soul is healed, it opens up that love and that connection with what everybody is seeking, is that connection of that divine connection and love. So far, you said that this is your 4th book.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so have you gotten any feedback on your book so far? I know it's just brand new, but what are your pre-readers saying about it?
They're encouraging people to go on this phenomenal journey and to just embrace what is written there, and to just be, mesmerized by it, actually, because it is, sometimes when I've read it back myself, I'm just thinking, God, did I really go through that? Wow. And it and if it's anything like my other book, it's a bit of a page turner. My first book, a lot of people said they found it very difficult to put it down. So I do feel that this book will be the same.
Well, I think that whenever you bring something into the world, it's your journey. But again, it's like you said, we're in this time where they are reevaluating and trying to figure out, what does this mean for me? So in the long run, what kind of a difference in the world do you think you and your book will end up making? Oops.
I feel it will make a sense. One, spirituality, because there's too much. I do feel that there's too much judgment around spirituality, and I want that to go, because at the end of the day, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and it's vital that our souls are acknowledged, our souls are embraced, and that we live from the heart space. And we can only do that by really letting go of all the wounds that stop us from really connecting to our heart space. And the more we can connect to our heart space, the more we can connect to other people. And the more we can love ourselves unconditionally, the more we can love others unconditionally. And that's not to say that you lay down and allow people to take advantage of you. That's not the case, because when you love yourself, you know how to have appropriate boundaries in place. So it's really about unity consciousness and us just coming together in unity as much as possible for the human race. So That's the difference that I want to make in the world. For there to be more love, light, acceptance, lots of spirituality, because it's, you know, as much as the shadow side has to be dealt with, the other side of it is lovely, you know, knowing that we are spiritual beings and that we are connected to each other, that we are connected to the spirit realm, and we can connect with our guides and we can connect with divine source. That's just fantastic. It's amazing.
That really is. And that I wanted to, before I ask you a few more questions, I wanted to ask you, so if somebody wants to get connected with you, what is the best way to reach out to you and make contact?
The best way, I would say, is to go on my website, which is YvonneJDouglas.com, and book in a free consultation. There's a link on one of the pages where you can book in a free consultation, and that will just automatically come into my diary, and I will make contact at that particular time that they've chosen. That's the best way. Or you can connect with me on social media. It is becoming quite busy now, but so if you really definitely want to have a chat, use the link on my website. But social media handles YvonneJDouglas.com or the Starseed Alkhemist.
Okay, super. So I wanted to just, since this has been quite the serious conversation, lighten up a little bit and ask you about what is some of the fun things about being who you are. You know, you're an empath and you're a natural psychic and a healer. Tell me some of the things that make that kind of fun. Because I know that it's not all serious.
No. And I'm not, you know, I'm serious in my work, absolutely. But I do also have a very good sense of humor. I'm a bit crazy, actually. And I love to have a lot of fun. So some of the things that I think makes it quite interesting and fun is that if I'm in a relationship and the man isn't completely transparent, well, it's not funny, but I'm a human lie detector, basically. So I can sense your nonsense. And it's funny how they seem to think it's not true and they will still do it. And even if there's no proof, I don't need proof. I just know what I'm feeling. I just know what I'm sensing. And I know that you're lying. And I just find it quite funny that you think that you can still get away with it, you know. So yeah, so that's the funny part. That's the fun part. And another fun part is actually with my friends, my soul sisters, when we are having conversation, and quite a lot of them are actually psychic themselves as well, so we can smell each other's nonsense as well. So if we're lying to ourselves and our friends, we're trying to help each other, we will just say, you need a bitch slap. You know. And so that's our running joke at the moment, when we're not being honest with ourselves. So it's really nice that we can pull each other up in a very loving way and supportive way.
Well, I agree. And that is funny because you're right. A lot of times you don't know how you know, you just know. And
absolutely,
you know, that is the way it is. And it's funny because my son, when he was little, he thought it was funny to tell me little white lies. And he would tell me something and I'd tell him, I'd say, you know, you want to always tell the truth, because as long as you always tell me the truth, no matter what happens, I will always have your back.
Yes.
You tell me the truth. And then, of course, he grew up, and there have been a couple times where somebody had accused him of, you know, doing something. And I knew that if he told me he didn't do it, that he was telling me the truth, because he learned very young that, you know, tell the truth and you never have to, you know, remember anything. And he's my sensitive son. But it is interesting. So Journey of a Starseed, where can people get Journey of a Starseed and your other books and workshops?
So all my books are on Amazon. and they're also on my website. People can order them on my website. Although if they are in another country, I would recommend buying it off of Amazon because it may take a lot longer to be received. Journey of a Starseed isn't yet ready on my website, but it will be very soon. So it's the Kindle version that's ready, and the paperback version should be ready by next week.
Oh, okay.
I just need to do the final checks on that. Yeah. So tomorrow it launches on Kindle, and it's at a very special offer, promotional rate of only £1.11 for 1 day only. That's tomorrow. After that, it reverts to £11.11 on the Kindle version.
That is a super duper value, £1.11, which I don't know what that is in US, but I'm sure they convert it for.
Yes.
So that's really super. So before I let you go, is there anything else that you'd like people to know about you or your book?
What else would I like people to know? That if they're going through anything at the moment and they are worried about, owning up to what they're feeling or scared about, feelings of fear and guilt and depression, that they don't need to worry, and they don't need to actually suffer in silence, because a lot of people do suffer in silence, and they just need to trust that someone out there can help them. Help is out there, and if they want to work with me, I'm a global healer. So, and the beauty of healing and energy work, it can be done overseas. It can be done remotely, because I also do remote energy healing. I do things like soul retrievals, because when somebody goes through any kind of trauma, they essence of their soul can fracture off, and then that person doesn't feel whole, and they go through life not feeling quite themselves. And so with a soul retrieval, I clear and cleanse their aura, their body, and then go looking for that soul part and bring it back. And sometimes it's more often than not, actually, it's more than one soul part that I bring back. And then the person starts to feel so much better. They feel more whole, they feel lighter, and they're more able to just get on with their life and fulfill their soul's purpose. So that's something that I do. And as I said, it can be done remotely. And it's one of the things that I'm doing very regularly now, especially since the pandemic. A lot of people are coming to me for that. And then there's also ancestral healing that I do, because we carry a lot of our stuff in our DNA, and even things like racism. So that's something that's within the DNA, the effects of for Black people, and also for white people. It's in the DNA. So I do some ancestral healing around that as well. So, as I said, if you're worried or, a bit apprehensive, then just book a call, because just have a chat about it. Because when we talk about what's going on for us, we take the power out of it, and it's just like a release. It's a release. So, I would just urge people to have faith and trust, and always trust that whoever you use to help you heal, generally you always find the right person for you.
I believe that. I was just thinking as I was listening to you talk, that's why I paused, because I was thinking about you and about people, the sensitive souls, and how all souls, I thought that was interesting when you were talking about the soul retrieval, because like you said, sometimes people do, they don't know, why do I feel like there's something missing, or and that would be, I could understand why that could be really important, to go put you back together again. that be solid. And then what you were saying about energy healing, and that it doesn't matter where you are because it's energy. And that means that you can heal someone no matter where you are and no matter where they are. So
yes.
I was off thinking about all of the possibilities about that. So everyone, we've been speaking with Yvonne J. Douglas, and her new book is Journey of a Starseed. I love that title. It just makes me I can just imagine, that the whole journey. It just seems like it just unfolds, and Yvonne is spelled YVONNEJ Douglas. So if you're looking for her online, that's how you spell it. So everyone, Journey of a Starseed is available now as we speak, because by the time this airs, your Kindle version will be up. And then, of course, in a week or so, the paperback version will be available. And be sure you go and get it at the very special price of £1.11.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.